also look in Washington and see somebody like Nancy Pelosi. You look at what she does. Members of Congress should not be able to make a fortune in the stock market. This is not on the level. I'm sorry. But I think in Nancy Pelosi, and it's the best advertisement I can think of for something that I think is long overdue, and that is we need term limits for members of Congress. If we had had term limits, she would have been gone 30 years ago. So what does she do? She passes the Inflation Reduction Act, her and Chuck Schumer. And what does this bill do? It has nothing to do with reducing inflation. In fact, it's probably going to increase inflation. But it's spending a lot of money. It's hiring 87,000 IRS agents. And what are those IRS agents going to do? They are going to be sicked on people the government doesn't like. They are going to be sicked on working people, contractors, restaurant owners, people that drive Ubers. They're not going after the billionaires. You know why? The billionaires all have accountants and lawyers and everything. They know how to get around the tax code. They're going to go after working people, and they're going to end up ruining a lot of people's lives. They're going to end up ruining their businesses and their jobs. The money that they do extract out of them, they're going to give it to wealthy people for vehicle credits. This is not good policy, and it just shows you the contempt that they have for us, that they would pass a monstrosity and call it the Inflation Reduction Act. The real Inflation Reduction Act is when you replace your senator with Blake Masters, and when we fire Nancy Pelosi. That's the real Inflation Reduction Act. So we've got a lot of work to do over the next few months. I can tell you the difference between what I've seen over the last few years and maybe what we saw even 10 years ago is the left is even more militant than they've ever been. They are playing for keeps. If you think about if they had a couple more senators after this last election, what would they have done? They wanted to pack the U.S. Supreme Court. They wanted to make D.C. a state so they get 2 extra Democrat senators. They wanted to abolish the Electoral College, and they wanted to create no voter ID and mandatory ballot harvesting all across the country, regardless of what states think. So say what you want about that agenda. I obviously don't think it's good, and I'm sure you guys don't either. But that is not an agenda that's speaking to the average American family who's worried about the price of gas and food and all these other stuff. They're not sitting on the kitchen table talking to each other saying, oh man, I just wish we could abolish the Electoral College. No families are doing that right now. That is an agenda that is trying to make the conservative part of the country second-class citizens. They want to make sure that they can ensconce themselves in power, and they will use that power to the detriment of people that think like us.